Paulie Malignaggi, Paulie TV. We're here for a chat in this hot Florida weather. Man, I don't know what to tell you with boxing. Is boxing heating up or what? Boxing has heated up, but I don't know, man. I still find everybody's still complaining. What's like all the complaints about Shakur Stevenson? What's the complaints about? The guy's good. Give him his credit. You don't like him? All right. You know, sometimes you don't like guys because, okay, they're arrogant, they talk too much, and they're stupid, and all this other stuff. This kid is respectful. He can fight his ass off. Okay. So he's not Rock'em Sock'em. But tell your favorite Rock'em Sock'em guy. I've been saying it. Tell your favorite Rock'em Sock'em fighter to beat him. So I don't know what else to say about that, man. I mean, I feel like Forrest Gump. That's all I have to say about that. But we're gonna discuss it, Jimmy. I don't know, man. When you see these comments you see from people, man, I don't get it. Then they make like I'm crazy. If I'm so crazy, tell your guy to fight him. If I'm so crazy, I'm not sitting here telling you he's the most exciting guy. But you should also appreciate the fact when somebody is the best. You know what I mean? That in every sport, you should want to watch the best, and you should want to know who is the best instead of just putting this weird beta hero worship where you just want your favorite fighter to win, and as long as he wins, it doesn't matter if you put a sacrificial lamb in front of him. Let's get these guys in the ring together, man. That's what everybody should be really moving on. You know, that's what everybody should be, clamoring for is getting everybody in the ring together, man. You know, like. Everybody get to make the fights. You know, when the fights get made, everybody's happy. The results showing themselves. I mean, we see the Riyadh season fights in Saudi Arabia. Those guys make the matches. Those are always great cards and great fights with multiple upsets. The odds makers have been so spoiled with boxing that suddenly you get these Riyadh cards and there's mad upsets because the odds makers really don't know how to make the odds when you have evenly matched fights. So let's clamor for these, man. What are we talking about? Like, oh, this guy's boring. I don't want to see him. Make the best versus the best and shut up already. Seriously, that's what you should be clamoring about.
All right, well, let's start with the top clamor on your review of Shakur's fight. Paulie is delusional if he thinks Stevenson is favored over Tank. Also, you may want these top fighters to fight him, but this is a business. Stevenson doesn't attract viewership.
Yeah, I get it. The problem here is that your favorite fighter, Tank, main evented against Alex Garcia last year. You see this arena behind me, the Pro Box Arena? Seems like 1,000 people. Alex Garcia wouldn't sell this place out, okay? He wouldn't sell enough tickets to sell that place out, all right? And this guy was main eventing against him in a pay-per-view, okay? So don't give me the whole Shakur isn't popular enough because he's way more popular than these guys, all right? Don't give me that crap, all right, man? Make the fight. And stop counting other people's money, worrying about what the business is. You worry about the fights, the best fights that can be made. No, you're not getting any money. I hate these fans that start with it's not worth enough money. So shut up. You're not getting any of the money. What are you complaining about? What are you worried about other people's money for? Make the fight. Seriously, clamor for the fight. If you clamor enough for the fight, people will make the fight happen because they'll say, oh, there is enough money in the fight. Seriously, clamor for the best fights.
So seriously. That's
that's
the point.
It's like a weird beta hero worship now in this generation among adults. I get it for kids, but man, now we got it in adults. It's so weird. It's so freaking weird, bro. I'm not even telling you Shakur's my favorite fighter. He's just damn good though, and I want to see the guys that are good fight the guys that are good. That's it. It's very simple. I want to see who the best is. I want to find out personally who the best is. I don't want to guess who the best is. I want to find out who the best is.
Okay, so that brings me to my question. Is this the new Crawford Spence in terms of the fight that needs to be made in all the divisions of boxing?
Right now, probably, yeah. Probably right now, yeah, sure. Probably has to be made. I mean, right now it's probably I think Canelo Benavidez is probably a little bigger, you know?
But
I think
Canelo
Benavidez. Huh?
But David? Benavidez moved up, yeah.
No, he didn't move up. Hell no, he didn't move up. He even announced, he said he's at 68 if Canelo calls him. Hell no, he didn't move up. Don't give the other beta champ an out. Let's not give the other beta champ an out by making excuses for him. No. Benavidez said he did not move up. He will move up if he'll fight at 75 and 68. He can make 68 if Canelo makes the fight. No. We're going to put the onus on the ducker, not the guy who's trying to make the fight. No way. No out. Not here. Not on Paulie TV. You guys want to give the out for the duck? You can make it on your own networks and your own fanfare. Not at Paulie TV. At Paulie TV, we call out the ducks, and we don't give you an out for the duck.
Okay, so in that
and
fight,
not to say that Gervonta's ducking Shakur. It's too early to say that, but this fight is starting to get that demand where it's got to be made. I personally think you see the difference with Canelo and Benavidez. I don't think Canelo is that good anymore. You know what I mean? Like there's been a time when he was really, really good. I don't think he's all that good anymore. You know, I think there's a handful of guys at 168 that probably beat him. Gervonta and Shakur, they're both really good. They're the bottom line top two at 168. Canelo's not in the top two at 168. I don't even know if he's in the top three at 168. You know, so that fight we're just talking about making that fight because he's got all the belts and he's holding them hostage. But when it comes to Shakur and Gervonta Davis, at this point in the lightweight division, mind you, it's a lightweight division with a lot of talent. Again, which is crazy because all the other talent that we were just talking about moved up to 140 and not that long ago, and yet this weight class suddenly rejuvenated itself. Keep in mind, you got Keyshawn Davis coming around the corner as well. I don't know, man. It's a fight. It's a weight class where Gervonta and Shakur are the legitimate top two right now. So yeah, you got to make that fight.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Hardatunian's only loss was to Frank Martin, correct? Before Shakur,
and it was on shorter notice. He took that fight on shorter notice, and it was more competitive. Okay. Shakur, he was less competitive against Shakur, and Shakur actually made a lot of effort in trying to make it a little more exciting. But he's not that kind of fighter. You know, he's not gonna suddenly grow knockout power just because he stands in front of you. He stood in front of him a lot more, held his ground a lot more, and boxed him from where he stood a lot more. Yeah, he changed range at times. It's naturally who he is. He tried to make an effort for these fans, and again, you're not going to make a guy just because you make him change his spots. A leopard. I'm misquoting the saying. A leopard's not going to change his spots. He is who he is. You can sort of try to make him stand around and stand more in the pocket, and he'll be somewhat effective. But he's not going to be he's not going to suddenly become more exciting by your eyes. And I guess the people that want him to be more exciting are the people that want him to score knockouts and, put flashy combinations together. He's such a tactician, and I get it. The flashy combinations and all that stuff, I get it. I even saw some comments that said, oh, yeah, Paulie was more exciting than Shakur. I also wasn't as good as Shakur. So, I put together some flashy combinations and spots. I mix speeds. Shakur does a very good job of changing not so much the speed of his punches, but he changes the punch selection very, very well. And he's very accurate when he changes the punch selection. So he still keeps you from getting the timing on him. I was more of a guy who changed a lot of speeds. I would touch, I would throw flash combinations. I would go back on the jab and whatnot. But again, I wasn't as good as Shakur Stevenson. I'll admit it. So everybody's saying, oh, I'm clamoring for Shakur because I was a fighter like that. No, man, I actually know how difficult it is to fight like that, and he does it so well. And I want to see if anybody can beat him. That's it. I don't think anybody can, but I would love to see the best fight against him because anything less than the best is clearly hasn't even been competitive. Can he make guys like Gervonta Davis look that bad? That's the interesting thing,
So
also, what was Shakur talking about with Ryan Garcia yesterday with the white boy tweet? I don't know why nobody's gonna make a stink about that. What happened with that? When he called him something white boy? Did you see that?
Yeah, no, I did see some. No, I didn't see it, but I did see him go off on Twitter.
You see him go off on Twitter? All right, well,
he was going off on Twitter just basically about people leaving the fight early. People were leaving the fight early.
Somebody sent me the screen. People's leaving the fight early because the fight was in the bag already. That's why they were leaving the fight early. You're in Newark, New Jersey. There's traffic, so I don't know if this tweet still exists because I know people erase tweets, but he tells Ryan Garcia, stop cheating your way through life. You're on a 1-year vacation. Be happy the higher powers didn't punish you longer because you deserve a 5-year suspension. On my life, if I was Dev or Bill, you'd be lucky to still be breathing because intentionally cheating in a dangerous ass sport like that, white boy. I don't know, man. I think Shakur needs some punctuation here because I don't. There's a one big run-on sentence, except for one period after 5-year suspension, and I don't really know what he's saying. But everything seems to go there, and then he just puts white boy at the end. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't know what's with these black fighters too. Just throwing out white boy like I don't know, like when it has nothing to do with anything. Especially in that situation. Ryan Garcia is Mexican, isn't he? You're not Mexican American.
He's from Victorville.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see if that's the fight to make, what's your first perception of it? What would the odds be if that opened up today? Shakur and Tank.
I don't know. I think it would be close to even. I think the odds would be close to even. I think maybe Shakur would start out as a favorite, but then the money would probably come in Tank's favor. He's more of a fan favorite. He's a bigger draw, and a lot of people bet with their heart and rather than with their mind. So I think a lot of the money will come in on Tank, and possibly Tank would end up becoming the favorite by the time they step in the ring. But I think the odds would open up as Shakur being the favorite.
In that, how do you judge that Frank Martyn loss to Tank? The fact that he beat who Shakur beat, like, and does that matter?
The fact that he beat who Shakur beat? No, Shakur didn't fight Frank Martyn, bro.
No, I know, but he beat the guy who he got kind of killed by Tank, but he beat the guy Shakur beat. So is that why people? I mean, yeah, is that why people are kind of underrating this one?
But that fight was rather competitive, and Haratunian took it on short notice. You know, I mean, listen, Frank's a decent fighter. You know, I was very impressed the way Gervonta Davis handled him. I thought that was a statement win because Martyn had been relatively impressive, a guy who I was starting to rate. So the fact that Gervonta made him look like he didn't belong in the ring with him, I thought was really good. And again, Gervonta played it patiently, but this time he walked him down instead of playing it patiently, backing up. A lot of times Gervonta will kind of just sit back and give up rounds. There were rounds Gervonta still gave up this time, but he was pressing him mentally the whole way. You know what I mean? He was pressing him, and I think he was just making Frank feel the heat. And you could just see the sand running out of the hourglass of Frank Martyn. And then once Tank started putting shots together, and Tank really had some good snap on his punches. Obviously, he's powerful, but also the snap he gets on his shots, along with his own deceptive tactics and athleticism, make him somebody to really deal with. It's interesting, man. The lightweight division has some crazy amount of southpaws right now, right at the top level. I mean, you had Martyn, you have Gervonta Davis, Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson. It's crazy how many southpaws there are in the lightweight division right now, at or near the top, right? And also, my final thoughts are: if you don't like Shakur, you should be rooting for the guy that maybe can beat him to fight him, so you can be put out of your misery, or he can be put out of your misery, because he's obviously making you miserable by winning, and you don't like him. So you should want the guy that you feel could beat him to fight him, so that then you can, in your own head, feel like he'll get rid of this guy, right? So. I mean, I like I said, I don't understand the whole hero worship thing. I get you like Tank Davis, but you should also, I think any full blown adult, we're not children, any full blown adult should be demanding the best fight gets made, not that their favorite fighter just keeps fighting guys who we know he's going to beat. It's not. I'm not really down for that. I don't know how full blown adults went into a children's mentality in this generation.
Speaking of this generation, Ryan Garcia, let's start with your immediate thoughts on the WBC indefinitely suspending Ryan Garcia for using a slur.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a bit off, Ryan. I don't know. I think Ryan just presses the issue a little bit. I don't even want to say he's a bit off. I think he just looks for attention. He's a little bit of a spoiled kid. He looks for attention. He says things that I think he thinks he's going to get attention without understanding that there's consequences to things. I think he does. He purposely does controversial stuff, trying to follow a little bit in that Conor McGregor mold, But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's suspended for a year. Now he's out of the rankings. I mean, don't get me wrong. Let's break it to you. If you're inactive for a year, you're technically supposed to be out of the rankings anyway. So, because after a year of inactivity, you lose your spot in the rankings regardless. So, the removal of Ryan Garcia from the rankings, I don't understand why there's a big deal about this being made, because it was supposed to happen anyway based on his suspension being a 1-year suspension. So,
so they might have just used it as like a message, like, "Hey, we're going."
The WBC just is like the PR they more specialize in their own PR. That's why they're the most popular sanctioning body. They're just a PR machine, so they look to make headlines. They look to involve themselves in a lot of things. I get along with the people at WBC, but I also do notice it's a little bit like irkish. They're always like inserting themselves in into headlines and things like that. Like there's a major fight where they're not involved, they'll just make up a belt just to throw it in there, like they did with Mayweather and McGregor and stuff like that. They're a monster PR machine, and that's why they are the most popular sanctioning body. But I think this is just. And obviously, the major 4 sanctioning bodies are important in boxing. Like I said, I defend them as far as needing a world champion with 4 different champions because the champions don't fight often enough today. But I do have a problem with so many regional titles and continental titles where you're just scrapping up. You're just picking up. You're basically making guys pay extortion fees for the sanctioning fees in order to get into your rankings. So it's basically like pay to play kind of thing. It's like a political pay to play. So I'm not crazy about that. But also in this particular situation and these situations in general, the WBC is a monster PR machine. They always insert themselves more so than any other sanctioning body. And I think the fact that they were the ones that came out with this announcement out of all the sanctioning bodies, they were all the only ones that came out with this announcement. And mind you, when you look between the fine print, you realize the announcement is actually worthless because Garcia being suspended a year loses his place in the rankings anyway. It was just a PR move. It wasn't really anything else, but that's what they do.
But I'm calling this the Ryan Garcia villain arc. Is him becoming this sort of villain, people not liking him for the PEDs, all the shit he's saying, all that what happened up to the fight, what happened after? Is he creating this? Well, will he make more money now being a villain?
It's possible. I think it's possible. I think, again, going back to the beta hero worship mentality, it applies here too. People are defending Ryan Garcia no matter what he's doing, no matter what he says, no matter what rules he breaks. There's a ton of people that get his back and then argue with him,
including Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, including Bohemian Grove, which he came out and pulled that one out of his ass. That had no context at all. Had nothing to do with anything at all. And it still has no context based on what he's been doing and saying. Everything needs a context. Ryan has no context. He's just looking for attention. I don't think he even knows what he's talking about 90% of the time. He just says stuff just to make headlines. But again, the fact that I don't think he's an idiot. I think he's a little bit off as far as not understanding how to do this, but maybe he's got a pulse on the generation better than I do. Maybe he realizes he's dealing with a bunch of idiots in this generation. So you say idiot stuff, you do idiot stuff, and you become more popular in a generation of idiots. So,
come on.
And maybe that's what worked, right? Maybe that's what works?
Yeah, I want to see him get his ass kicked now.
Yeah. I mean, some people may want to see him get his ass kicked, but a lot of people also defend him. I mean, there's, my social media definitely gets flooded with pro Ryan Garcia people, So,
I had to put him on mute.
I mean, what, on Foley TV? Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, I mean, I just don't like it's the same shit every day.
But it's the same shit, but it's also just weird because it's, again, you should want to see the best fight the best. You shouldn't really have a hero worship when you pass a certain age. I think when you pass 10 years old, you should stop with the hero worship, I think, But instead we got people full-blown adults in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s with this hero worship, where they'll argue on behalf of somebody no matter how wrong they are, or how bad they are.
So if Messi or Ronaldo was Italian, if Messi and Ronaldo was Italian, you wouldn't care?
No. I've criticized plenty of Italian. I can't stand overrated Italian players. I have my favorite Italian players, and I have top players in that in Italy they rate that I can't stand them as far as players are concerned. I'm not saying I can't stand them as people. I think some of them are actually, I've heard of some of them are actually nice guys, but as players, I can't stand them as players. Some of the most highly rated Italian players that the Italians have talked about in these generations, So
you're saying the biggest issue is the obsession and like the fanboyship will drive.
It's an obsession. It's an unhealthy obsession. It's not an obsession. It's an unhealthy obsession because if a guy doesn't perform correctly, or he breaks rules, or he just does bad things or says bad things, you have to have the presence of mind to know, okay, maybe it's not I can still be a fan of his and call him out. Like I always tell people I was a big fan of Arturo Gatti growing up, and then even when I turned pro, I was happy to fight on his undercard and whatnot. But when he fought Floyd Mayweather, and people were like, "Oh, maybe he's got a shot with with that big left hook, or maybe Arturo's so tough, no way Floyd stopped him." Because people complain about Floyd the way they complained about Shakur Stevenson at that time,
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, he's," and some people were like, and I told people, I'm like, Floyd's gonna stop Arturo, and people thought I was crazy. How could you say that you like Arturo? It's not that it doesn't mean I don't like Arturo. Doesn't mean I wouldn't like to see Arturo winning the fight. And when they went head to head, I just knew how good Floyd was. I ended up becoming a big fan of Floyd later, but I always respected Floyd's boxing game even before that. I used to watch videos of Floyd Mayweather and all that stuff. I knew how good he was. I knew he was going to stop Arturo Gatti. Basically, the point of what I'm saying is you can still like somebody and still, call out wrongdoings or understand where they are lacking and still be a fan of them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you start fanboying it up that it becomes a little bit creepy and beta-ish. It's weird. It's just weird, man. It's weird to me. And bro, even people my age or older, I've seen do it. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
Well, maybe him or Shakur will become boxing's biggest villain and therefore make more money.
Yeah, I mean, I think
kind of what I'm seeing from these two, at least, is maybe all this trash talking. Maybe they do have a grip on this generation where we might actually pay and watch in for them to get their ass kicked.
Yeah. I mean,
that's why we watched Floyd as a kid. I didn't really follow boxing, but everybody talked. My dad was like, "I hate this fucking guy," but he still watched the fight.
Floyd was actually good. Floyd was actually good. Shakur is actually good. Ryan is just a YouTuber who, knows how to box and boxed his whole life, but hasn't actually shown. But
at the end of the day, it's the eyeballs that matter to the promoters.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. But that counts as the generation's idiocracy. We used to take you being a world-class level athlete to be on this conversation. Now you just got to be a world-class idiot and you can be in this conversation. That's the idiocracy of society. You ever see that movie Idiocracy? It goes into the future and how dumb people become. That shit is real, bro. It's just crazy.
It's with Luke Wilson.
We're experiencing it. Yeah.
It's with Luke Wilson. No, I think I turned it on once and I
think Dax was in it from
Dax Shepard,
one of those MTV shows. Yeah.
Oh.
And yeah. Pretty wild.
That's our next segment. Idiocracy. No, I wanted to get into mid-year awards. We have 3. All right, Paulie? And I got the nominees for you. We have Fight of the Year, Boxer of the Year, and Italian / Italian American of the Year. All right.
All right.
Okay, for Fight of the Year, our nominees are Ryan Garcia majority decision over Devin Haney, just because that was a good fight and we didn't see it coming. It's got to be thrown in there regardless of what happened. Sebastian Fundora split decision over Tim Tszyu. Kenshiro Terahi majority decision over Carlos Canzales. Sorry if I butchered those names. You know what fight I'm talking about?
What are they, the flyweights?
Yeah. It was like a brawl.
Yeah.
And then Usyk split decision over Fury, and then you're right in. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I think Usyk Fury is probably the big headliner right now. It was two-way action. It was also a big fight that lived up to the hype. And why is that? Because the 1 and 2 guys were actually fighting. That's what I'm talking about. This fight is a great example of what I'm actually trying to say. I don't want to watch the 1 guy fight the 5 guy or the 2 guy fight the 10 guy. I want to see the 1 and 2 guys fight consistently all the time. And this Usyk and Fury fight is an example of when you make the 1 versus 2 guy fight, that you get some really good fights. And so that's what you should always be clamoring for, not for your favorite fighter to have, not to make up reasons for your favorite fighter to be ducking his best contender. It's not the way it's supposed to be. So yeah, my pick is Usyk versus Fury because it makes my point, and it was a really good fight.
Awesome. So congrats to Alexander Usyk for winning Midway Boxer of the Year on Poly TV. 2. We're going with to Fight of the Year. My bad. Boxer of the Year: Usyk, Inouye, Bam Rodriguez, Gervonta Davis, and Pauly's right in. Those are my who I kind of.
Oh, I don't know, man. Bam's looking good, man, but Usyk is tough to beat because he's the heavyweight.
Yeah.
Between Usyk and Bam, it's a coin flip between Usyk and Bam. We'll see. I think it's going to take the second 6 months to figure it out.
What does
Inouye's there too? Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Even Inouye in the conversation. We'll see. Inouye got dropped, so he loses points. You lose a little bit of points there.
Fair. So I'm gonna Usyk Bam. We'll put a tie and we'll see what happens at the end of the year. Biggest one, Italian / Italian American of the year. So we have Yannick Sinner, who won the Australian Open. First Italian to win a Grand Slam. 1975.
That's already a top one at top. That's a top one at top.
Paulo Banchero led the Orlando Magic to the playoffs for the first time in 4 years, and he was Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, but he's Italian. Al Pacino just turned 84. He announced Best Picture at the Oscars and had a kid at 84.
Yeah, but that means Robert De Niro gets nominated too, because he also just had a kid.
And then we have Grimace, who helped the Mets to a 7-game win streak, and now they're only 1 game out of 500.
Who's the last one?
Grimace.
Grimace?
Yeah, big purple guy who threw out the first pitch of the Mets
He's
game.
Italian? Grimace is Italian?
Yeah, I mean, he helped the Mets. You heard about the whole story, right?
No, man, I don't watch baseball anymore. They changed so many rules. Bro, sports that change rules, I don't watch them anymore.
All right, well, Grimace, the Mets were like 8 games under 500, basically.
I did hear that because I was in New York headlines.
Yeah, and since then, Grimace threw out the first pitch. They went on a 7-game win streak, and since then, they're only 1 game under 500, and they're a competitive team.
All right.
And I thought, yeah, I mean, good for Grimace. Yeah, no.
All right, all right, let's stop beating around the bush. My pick is Yannick Sinner.
Okay.
That's it.
And at this time, he actually just lost in the quarterfinals in Wimbledon to Daniel Medvedev about 30 minutes ago. So he will not be winning Wimbledon, but pretty good year for Italians. Future, what's going on? We got Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. Who do we care?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. It's a fight. Listen, bro, I mean, I'm not like the biggest Jake Paul hater like a lot of other people. I think he's an interesting guy, and he's put the asses in seats. I don't think that the boxing fans on that aisle are boxing fans that watch mainstream boxing. Yeah. I think boxing fans that are on mainstream boxing don't care so much about that aisle, but there are like 2 different aisles in boxing that have been created lately. Because even the MMA community in general, because they get reamed so bad from Dana White and MMA in general, they have to go and do something else to make money. And I think they've kind of found their little niche too, making boxing cards.
We just saw that. We just saw that this past weekend with Nate Diaz
and Masvidal. That's brilliant. That these guys can go out and make some money and without having Dana White extort them for most of their money that they themselves are generating. So I think boxing has that other lane where people are able to do this. And I'm not going to hate on that. That has nothing to do with the mainstream boxing. It's almost like a semi-pro league, where you have Jake and you have the MMA community, and then you have the other side of it, and even Jake and the MMA community and a couple of like journeyman boxers that will fight Jake. But on the other side of it, you have mid-range to high-level contenders in boxing that are only looking at that side of it, and the fans that watch those fights are the hardcore mainstream boxing fans, and the fans that watch the other fights typically won't watch those mid to high range level boxing matches.
And Jake put those on his cards, and then Jake will put those on his cards.
Jake puts those on his cards. There's actually a nice card. There's a nice card July 20th, man. I got to be honest with you. I may it's not far from Pro Box. I don't know if maybe I'll go there. I don't know. I may consider going to that fight, because it's There's Jake and Mike Perry. Obviously, that's a big popular fight, but also some undercard fights. You got some pretty good contenders there. I like that Ashton Silva against Lucas Body fight. Actually, I've worked some Ashton Silva fights. He's impressive. I've also worked Lucas Body fights, and he's impressive as well. I think it's a nice matchup. I think that's a better fight actually than the Jake Paul and Perry fight. So I'm actually I look forward to these cards, man. They're not bad,
Well, Perry's out. Perry is 0-1 in his boxing career so far. So
yeah, but I mean, he's a good bare knuckle fighter. He's a good MMA fighter, and you know what? He generates asses and seats, and he's got the experience. Even if he's 0-1 as a boxer, he's got the experience.
We have Ennis versus Avesanyan on
hold on.
Oh yeah,
we got Tyler Goodjohn, former BKFC champion.
Hey, how we doing?
What's going on, brother?
Bro, yeah.
All right. Yeah. He's on the card. He's on the Pro Box card tonight or tomorrow night.
Oh, it's good.
He's a former BKFC champion. He's actually.
I was gonna say he looks like a BKFC guy. He doesn't look like a boxer.
Yeah. No, he does some boxing too, but he's a good bare knuckle fighter. He's a good fighter.
We have Ennis versus Avesanyan on July 13th this weekend. Is that anything you're paying attention to?
Ennis Avesanyan.
Avesanyan.
Yeah, Avesanyan. Avesanyan's usually a very, very durable guy. But Crawford knocked him out with a 1 punch, which was to me a shocker. I mean, I wasn't surprised Crawford beat him. That obviously Crawford beats mostly anybody in the world.
You called
I
that
was
fight.
surprised. I was surprised. Yeah, I called that fight. I was surprised though that Crawford stopped him with one punch. But he's very, very durable. He's sort of a prospect buster, um, prospect slash fringe contender buster. He's beaten guys like Josh Kelly. He beat Hector Lizarraga and one or two other guys. He's a really rugged guy, rugged, durable guy. Crawford obviously the best fighter in the world. So, I mean, I guess you could forgive him for being stopped with one punch, but it was the one punch stoppage that really shocked me because I don't know if his chin is sort of starting to be dented here, because he's usually a durable guy who makes you go rounds and impresses you. So that's an interesting fight. I listen. You favor Ennis. Ennis has been sort of looking special despite not being promoted the way he's been deserving to. But I don't know. We'll see what Avesanyan has left, honestly, because Avesanyan is typically a guy who pushes you a little bit. He's typically not able to win at this level, although he's got a couple of upsets, but he does push you. So I'm curious to see how Ennis looks. And I'm curious to see what Avesanyan has left.
Is this Ennis's biggest test so far?
I mean, I don't know, because after the stoppage after the stoppage that Crawford had on Avesanyan, who knows? You know, maybe the chin is dented, and you know you're not the same sometimes after knockouts like that. I don't know. I don't even know if Avesanyan has
Bud.
fought since then.
Then again, that's Bud.
As Avesanyan, huh?
But then again, that was Bud. That's the best fighter in the world.
Yeah, but Bud having one punch knockout power at welterweight was also not really heard of. You know.
Yeah.
You know, he's a former lightweight again, and Avesanyan is a guy who really was sturdy against, you know, really tough, hard punching welterweights. Like Hector Lizarraga had almost all knockout wins, and Avesanyan went through him and stopped them. You know, so you know, like I said, we'll see what Avesanyan has left. If there's anything left in Avesanyan, I'd certainly be curious to see how Ennis is able to handle him. But we really don't know. We'll see.
And I can tell it's getting hot out there. This is our last question before we wrap up. Manny Pacquiao is fighting at the end of the month in Japan. Can you give me an estimate of what he's making from that fight? I don't care about the prediction.
I have no idea.
I'm just a ballpark of what you're paying Manny Pacquiao.
I mean, he's got to be getting at least $5 million, $10 million. I don't know. I mean, you know, it's probably some big money behind a card like that. Is he fighting like on the record, or is he an exhibition?
No, it's exhibition.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe for an exhibition. If it's just an exhibition, maybe a few $1 million, I guess. You know,
okay.
It's an exhibition.
I just saw it on the schedule.
I don't know how much. I mean, honestly, how much money are they really giving? Or are they giving more than that for exhibitions? I know full blown boxing matches, all right, but the exhibition, dude, it's like it's found money. You get $2-3 million for an exhibition. That's found money.
Yeah.
So it's we'll see. Wait, it's in Japan, in Tokyo.
Pacquiao versus Suzuki.
Suzuki. All right. Like the car.
Chihiro Suzuki at the boxing exhibition. The bout is scheduled for three 3-minute rounds.
Is he related to Piston Honda? You're too young for Piston Honda. You don't remember Piston Honda.
Oh, I get the joke. I get the joke.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out, Piston Honda. They name these guys after car dealerships. This guy's Suzuki. All right.
Where are you at this Paulie? Where are you at this month? And where are you gonna be?
I'm in Plant City right now for Pro Box TV tomorrow. And later this week I'll be in New Orleans for BYB.
Awesome.
Boom.
New Orleans. People can find you. And they can at you with all the questions you want at Twitter, because you'll definitely see them.
Yeah.
For all your Shakur thoughts. All right?
I'll give me all your Shakur thoughts. I'll see you later.
Thanks, Paul.
Over and out. Holy Malanaji, Holy TV.